welcome to the For Real Deal with CCN.
And Kirk here.
All right, today we're going to talk about social media and how it affects our relationships today.
Yep.
Because social media is something that's new, that hasn't always been around, and it is definitely affecting our relationships and how we interact with each other. And it's bringing about certain feelings that, affect our relationships and that we definitely need to talk about. And also, we're going to talk about boundaries because social media allows you to have interaction with the person without physical contact. And that brings up a whole set of problems on its own.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues dealing with social media nowadays, especially with the fact that this is how people communicate. But because of the fact that we're communicating with this, we're losing touch of the old ways in which we used to deal with relationships. More of the face-to-face cues, the way in which we would interact through body language, the way we would talk to different people in different types of environments and mixtures right there, in which from first-hand observation, you could evaluate a situation with a person. But now, with social media, there is no body language. There's nothing that you get from that person. So we're just going over some major things in which you want to go ahead and look out for as far as pros and cons to it so that you get a more well-rounded idea. And when we're talking about social media, we're actually talking about your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, things in which you're dealing with on a daily basis.
Right.
These are items in which are constant tools in your life in which you're using on a regular basis. And these are things in which you really need to go ahead and look out for and take care of, just like any other bit of maintenance. So as we go ahead, on with the show.
All right then. So let's get into some pros and cons about social media. One of the pros of social media is that you can talk to multiple people near and far. No longer do you have to be physically in front of somebody like you had to be at the church social or at the movies. You can talk to somebody up in Washington today, 3 minutes later, somebody down in Florida, and 5 minutes later, somebody out in California, and you're sitting in good old Missouri.
Yeah, you can increase the chances of meeting somebody because you can now, as I say, see the world pretty much.
Yeah, definitely so. Let's discuss a con about this. One of the drawbacks of being able to talk to people over multiple things. It used to be, it's like the old time party line. You're in a room and you're just talking to everybody and everybody can hear you. On social media, you have that to a certain extent, but you still are talking to a lot of people all at once. You're putting it out there in front of the world and everybody can see, and you don't know who's watching.
Yep.
And you don't know who they're sharing it with.
Exactly.
So you have to be very careful of what you put out there and what you say. Now, another thing that social media can do for you, it gives you a line of constant contact with other people. And not everybody wants constant contact.
Yeah, that is a big thing because you're dealing with the fact that your life literally is an open book.
Yeah.
And everyone sees you through that page. So when you're dealing with people and you're communicating, you have to keep in mind that people don't understand the context in what you're saying or what you're doing. So keep in mind when you go ahead and post a joke or when you place a certain picture out there or a certain comment, you have to understand that some people don't get the joke.
Exactly, because if you don't see them and they're not inside your social circle and they don't understand where you're coming from or your particular point of view, they might get offended by it.
Really quick. And I mean, you've seen that happen more than one time. And you think, well, hell, I do these jokes, I say these things on my own page. Why are they getting into a tough? But they don't understand the group that you're in. They don't understand the inside jokes. It's just like when you have friends and you go ahead and make fun of bald people, but your friend is bald.
Exactly.
And that's always been a funny joke, and everyone always laughs. But now you have a whole world out there in which you might have some people who get very offended because they're losing their hair and take it out of context because of what's going on. And and again, too, going back to the fact that you have so many people getting into your life, you're dealing with issues of trolling because of that.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to be so careful because, number one, you don't know who the troll is. You don't know what they're doing. And all of a sudden, here comes this person attacking you, saying something mean and nasty about you on social media. And you're like, well, You're not in my circle of friends. I don't know who you are, what's going on. You have to be very careful not to let these people get you upset and then you answer back in anger because that person's not in your face.
Exactly.
If it's something that you wouldn't say to them face to face, don't put it on social media.
And don't go ahead and fall into that either. Some trollers got no life, and that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
They go ahead and make comments and statements right there, not knowing who and what you're about, or putting their own opinions out there, which don't is a gel with what you're talking about. Don't feed into it. Just go ahead, politely send them on their merry way, and be through with it. Because you have to keep in mind, that person is someone you don't have a clue on. You don't know this person, and obviously they don't know you. So you going ahead and picking a fight with somebody like this is just more headache than what it's worth. And at points, it can be dangerous too.
It can. Because you don't need that person looking you up and showing up on your doorstep going, oh, well, you said this and that and the other, and now I'm coming to get you. First of all, that's another drawback for social media is you don't want to put out where you live, when you're at home, when you're going to work, when you're eating lunch, when you're taking your kids to the school.
Yeah.
You know, I just did this, I just did that. It's nice
Yeah.
to share with family and friends, but you can't, please don't overshare.
Exactly. That's the biggest problem with so many issues today is that people don't understand that by oversharing yourself, by putting so much out there, that it gives somebody literally, your time and schedule for everything that you do, from when you wake up to when you go to bed. A couple years back, they had incidences where people were actually robbing people's homes because they knew they were on vacation.
Right.
And the biggest drawback to it is the fact that they gave them the information.
Exactly.
That's
They
the
put
problem.
it right out there on social media to say, hey, we're taking a vacation next week. We're going to blah, blah, blah. And because of the way the circles interact on social media, a friend of a friend of a friend is watching you and everything you say and do, and you're totally unaware of it. So, with that being put out there, don't spend too much time and don't put too much of yourself out there, because when you're in a relationship and you have too much of yourself out there, it can make your partner feel less important, and then you have to turn around and deal with that and say, well, no, you're not less important, but you have to discuss those boundaries.
Exactly, because you're putting so much of what you're doing that, and again, because people take these things out of context, they might think that you're just basically rubbing it in their face, that you don't enjoy time with them. So I enjoy time doing other things, and it's not true. But the context behind it, though, because of the pictures and the information and the things that you're putting out, and then we also go into the fact of getting into relationships and talking about cheating and other
yes.
things. That's another thing in which it kind of red flags itself into, is because putting so much out there, people might think that that's what you're doing.
Oh, actually, yeah, because who are you flirting with online? Who are you talking to online? You're liking all these pictures. You're liking all these person's comments. Well, if you're online and they're online too, and you guys are friends on the internet, social network, whatever that is, whether it's Snapchat or Pinterest or Instagram, you can see what the other person's doing. And then here you go calling them up going, oh, what are you doing liking that person's page? You have to really talk about things that you do on social network and keep that communication open. Well, I thought it was a cute picture. That's all it meant. It wasn't I'm trying to get with this person. So you have to be honest with each other about what you do and who you react to on social media.
That's very important, because you've heard this 1,000 times and you think it's all about being preached to. I'm a grown adult and I can do what I want to do. But it's about basic respect.
Right.
And it's about the fact that when you're doing things like this, that you do go ahead and cause problems. And unbeknownst to you, you didn't realize that you're the key to it, because you posted too many pictures about certain things, or you're talking about too many other stuff, and you don't know who's watching.
Right.
That's the problem. You got other people out there other than your friends and neighbors. Think about this. Do you really have 1,000 friends?
Well, hey, if you do, then wonderful and absolutely beautiful for you. But Like my mother used to tell me, everybody you think is your friend is not.
Exactly. And that person right there could go ahead and take the information which you put out and take advantage of the situation with you or any of your loved ones too. So
Yeah.
that's something to definitely keep in mind with something like that.
Yeah, you definitely want to be careful of that and pay close attention, because we have to have a balance with our social media in our life, because we have to be aware of our image on social media. What type of pictures are you putting out? What type of comments are you making out there? Because this has a definite effect on not just our personal lives, it even affects our professional lives.
Yep. And that's another thing too, because in social media, not only dealing with relationship, but also dealing with your job, with the organizations and groups that you're with.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are now screening your social media. They're actually looking at this as far as future applicants or in future positions. And that's the thing which also becomes stressful in a relationship, of why you didn't get that raise, why you didn't get that promotion, why you didn't get that job, and why you're too busy getting upset and taking it out on your other. Take a moment to go ahead and check your social media first.
Exactly. You might want to go back and clean up some pictures and take some things down, because your social media presence, your brand is you. That's what you're
Exactly.
presenting, whether it's in a job interview or whether it's in a personal relationship. What that person is looking at is their first impression of you. And it makes it makes a difference of what you're attracting. If all you want to do is have, I'm in the bedroom, I'm in my lingerie, and that's what I'm showing, a lot of cleavage, then guess what, girls? All you gonna get is guys that just want to hit that. And I
Yep.
just got to be honest with you.
And that's the truth right there, because guys are looking at these pictures. And the thing about it too, when we deal with like the good guy, the nice guy, the nice guy usually has a very respectful mindset. And when they're seeing a picture of nothing more than TNA shots of you
Uh-huh.
and nothing else of substance, then they pretty much know, why am I even going to try?
Exactly, because what is there that's interesting about you? Do you like hiking? Do you like to go running? Do you like to go walking?
That's
Do you
it.
like the museum? What else do you have to offer? And then the same thing for the guys.
Yep.
If I'm looking at pictures of guys and all I see in you is up here and the chains and the bling and all of this and the cigars and the money, then guess what, guys? All you're going to get is sugar mamas who want a sugar daddy.
And that's it too. I mean, too many times you want to go ahead, show off that physique, show off that car, show off that place, show off what you got. But keep in mind, what are you really trying to attract?
Exactly.
Because when these women see these things, all they're looking for is somebody to go ahead, pay their bills, handle handle their little responsibilities, wrap them around the thumb, and go ahead and lead them around by their nose. And yeah, you might think you're better and smarter than that, but guess what? That's all you're attracting now, though.
Exactly, and you're talking about complaining, I can't get no good women, there ain't nobody out there, all they want is my money. That's all you're showing.
Exactly.
That's all you're flashing is what you got. What is it about you that a woman wants to be with?
Because, I mean, what are you giving as far as substance when you have a stack up against your ear?
Yeah,
Except for the stack against your ear.
exactly.
That's all they're looking at. But if you go ahead and show a more rounded side of what you are and what you're about and your interests right here. Again, people think it's all lame and whack right there. Why do you want to go ahead and show it? But let's be for real. Who are you really trying to impress?
Exactly. And then what are you trying to attract in that woman? You say you want a woman of substance. You want a woman that's about herself, a woman that has some ambition. Well, then you've got to put out the same thing to attract that woman.
Exactly.
Just like the women have to put out things that'll attract men of substance.
Because that's the biggest headache, is that you got this basically on the internet, a double standard in which you want to get a better person, but you're not showing the best you.
Exactly. So it's so very important to put your best step forward. And one of the ways you can continue to balance your life with social media is to, when you're spending time with each other, put the phone down.
Yep, as simple as that. I mean, that's the way in which you really get to know somebody. I mean, how many times have you seen it out in the streets where you're walking down and she's got her phone, he's got his phone. And what are they doing? Checking social media.
Exactly. Or you're supposed to be on a date and you're in a restaurant And I challenge everybody, next time you're in a restaurant, look around you. How many people are on their phones? Are they talking to each other?
Yep, because that's the most important part. You talk about getting somebody, and now you're with that person, and what are you doing? Looking at pictures of someone else?
Exactly.
Or being involved in somebody else's life that's not that person in front of you? That's where you have to go ahead and start saying, okay, let's take this down just a level. Let's go ahead, bring it down a little bit. Let's go back to face to face. Let's go back to talking to people, because that's how you build a strong relationship. Yeah, you might have considered using the social media to get that relationship, but you have to keep in mind that now you have to do even more work to keep that relationship.
Exactly. And then you two, all it takes is just the two of you deciding, okay, we're for 10 to 20 minutes a day, we're going to put our phones down and just talk to each other. You two make that decision and work together as a couple, and then that way you can progress as a couple. And then one last thing, after y'all get through doing it, leave the phones down, please.
Yeah, that's a definite one right there. No joke, because that's the most, and I hate to say it, but it's true as hell, the most disrespectful thing that you can do. Period. That just is a bad look, no matter how you want to go ahead and phrase it, how you want to say it, because that person is looking at you like, what the heck just happened right here, where we were intimate for this time, and all of a sudden the phone got more attention than me after the fact.
Exactly. You done, and that's all I was here for, and now you back in the phone looking for the next. I don't think so.
And that works both ways around. You know, because come on, fellas, you know you get kind of disappointed too when she goes over there and reaches right over you and grabs that phone after you're done.
You know, it's like you got to get back to the basics. You got to get back to cuddling, just talking to each other, just, you know, being with each other in the moment. We have to be with each other in the moment, because it's so important, because that eye contact, that I'm here with you, that I'm thinking about you is important, versus, okay, I'm done, here's my phone, on to the next.
Exactly, because that's the one thing about it, is that I know that we have incorporated social media into so much of our lives, but it doesn't govern our lives, and we shouldn't go ahead, especially when it comes down to relationships, supersede our lives with it. So that's the most important part about it.
And then another thing that you also need to discuss with each other is just what are you going to put out there on social media. Especially if one of you shares more than the other, then that can cause arguments. And then you have to address that situation, because if you're announcing birthdays, oh, we're dating now, you know, we're getting engaged now, if you have to find a balance between the two of you where both of you are comfortable with it, so that one person is going, why'd you tell that? What'd you put that out there for?
Exactly.
I don't need them in my business like that. You know, keep something to yourself.
Because that's the one thing. You have to understand that a social media is basically like the town crier.
Yes.
The moment that you go ahead and start putting things out, you can't pull it back. So you have to be mindful, especially in a relationship, of what you're putting out there, and at least be on the same accord right there. Just talk. It's simple. Just go ahead and what you want to go ahead and post, how you want to post different things, and keep that in mind, because what happens is that when you're putting this stuff out, you put your partner in a unique situation on a lot of times right there.
Oh yeah, especially if you're announcing, oh, so and I are dating now, and he hasn't told his family.
Yeah.
Now mom and dad or cousin and everybody's talking, and they calling him up, who is this person I don't know nothing about?
Or when you start going ahead, for y'all young ladies who like to post a lot of pictures of yourself, and then start wondering why you got 2,000 likes right there and your boyfriend's upset over a picture that was supposed to be just for him.
Exactly. See, you need to discuss with him a little bit more on what his ideas of being personal is. You know, you might have always put pictures like this out and it doesn't bother you, but it bothers him. So now you need to have a discussion with him about, hold up, this is who I am and this is what I like. But if it bothers you that much, maybe I won't post so many. And the same vice versa with the guys. Don't be out here liking and winking and hiring all these other females and talking about, oh, it don't mean nothing. Because I guarantee you, If she don't share well and you don't share well,
Yep.
then that's gonna cause some problems.
And that's where the real issues start coming up because of that back and forth, back and forth. One person going behind the other person's back, doing something, posting something, putting stuff out there, and causing conflict because of social media. You don't need to have that conflict. Just simply sit back, have a brief conversation, get on the same page right there.
Right.
And again, as I said, we're not saying that you have to go ahead and give up who and what you are.
Right.
Give up your identity, take away what you want to show and display the world. No, we just want people to be more mindful because, again, you are showing the world.
Exactly, and that's what's so important. Once you put something on social media, you can't take it back, and it goes forever. And then all of a sudden one day, here it comes back at you. But if you've had that conversation with the person you're dating or married to, then when that picture comes back, yeah, you know what? I saw a picture of your girl and she was doing this, that. He's better able to deal with it because he already knows.
And that's the whole thing about it. And then on top of that, when you're trying to go ahead and get a relationship, best thing to do, just clean up your pictures. Clean up your social media. Start really going through and looking at the different pictures that you have. And again, it's not about me up here chastising or she up here chastising you about this or judging. It's nothing like that. It's just the fact that you might have something in your history right there in which you might want to go ahead and remove, period.
Exactly, because again, what you put out on social media is you. That's your presence. That's your brand. And even though you might not be a big movie star selling anything, you know, you could be an average everyday person. You still have how you're presenting yourself, and it matters a lot because it can affect how you get a job. It can affect how other people think about you, you know, and if you're trying to attract a certain person, again, what you put out there is what you attract. If I got a lot of cleavage or butt shots or whatever, okay, fine. I can have sexy pictures, but then all I'm going to do is attract men who just want to hit that again. If I'm trying to attract a man who's truly interested in me for me, then I'm going to make my pictures a bit more conservative. I'm going to talk about more of things of what I like and what I want to do with my life. And that's what I'm looking for in return. Not the guy sitting up there with all the money and spread out and he got all the women hanging off of him, because that's not what I want.
And also, as you get older, you become more mature. And you start thinking about the fact that you are a different person now compared to that picture you posted 5 years ago where you had the joints in your hand and you're up here talking about free love and drugs and having a good time, or up here fanning money around. You might be a different person than that. And that's why it's important that you go ahead and clean up those pictures, because there's always going to be something in your history, in your timeline, in which you need to get rid of. You need to let that go, because again, when you start looking at who you're dating or who you're getting involved with, you might have decided to go ahead and do a more clean-cut, conservative look. And I'm just saying, that's just a change of what you made. But your college pictures say very different about you right there.
Ooh, yeah, some people have lost some jobs because of them college pictures, males and females alike.
Exactly.
You're in the interview and you're talking, the interview's going great and the guy's liking what he's hearing and what you're saying, and then all of a sudden he turns around and lays a picture down and go, "Can you explain this to me?" And is with you from like 3-4 years ago with your buddies talking about, all I do is drink and get high. And now, there you go. You done lost that job because of your social image. Companies take it seriously how you present yourself to the world. A lot of companies now have social media rules and regulations now because of social media. You can't just go out and do anything when you're representing a particular company, and companies take it into account of what you've done in the past.
And that's the whole thing about it too, is that what you've done in the past is the past, and you don't want to have that kind of information out there in which people can go ahead and exploit. Or for the new person which is in your life now, looking at those pictures in which they just see you out there partying, or seeing you out there flirtizing, or seeing old ex-boyfriends and other people that you've been involved with, in which now you saying that you're a new person, but then they're looking at the old you, and it blurs lines a lot of times, because again, The internet is about context and a lot of things falling out of it. And it's
Right.
about the fact that people don't understand until they actually get to know who and what you are. And the last thing you want to do is have pictures out there in which you went over there and you went and beat up some mascot at a football game.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, yeah, it was a funny moment and a great thing. But now, oh, so that's why you fly into a tempered rage every time. In which you're constantly getting jokes about it where it's not funny no more. And that's the thing.
Exactly, because the thing is, you don't want to put yourself out there as that person. You don't want to be the person that, oh, I keep it 100, and no matter what anybody says, you flying off. Being honest can be done in a way that's not disrespectful. Just because you want to say how you feel or what you think at the moment doesn't make it right. We all have to have filters because what we put out there is important. It affects us in ways that, we never had to think about before.
Exactly.
So now it's new.
Because we're talking about a time in which we don't date like we used to. Going
Right.
to the skating ring, going to the church little, function right there. We had different events in which we used to go ahead and have mixers in which we would actually have a chance to talk to somebody one-on-one.
Yeah.
Now you're going ahead looking at social media and you have your butt hanging out. And that's the first image that they see. Or the guy right there with his shirt off.
Exactly.
And fan himself with money. That's the first image they're going to see. And regardless of what you say in your comments, regardless of what you go ahead and tweet, regardless of whatever kind of inspirationals that you put on Instagram, that image is going to burn in their minds first and foremost.
Exactly. And your first impression is always the most important impression. And so you want to make sure that you're putting yourself out there in a way that you want to be remembered, in a way that doesn't make you embarrassed, in a way that doesn't make you feel ashamed of who you are. And so it's very important, and that what you do, how you dress, how you look, all of that comes into play when you're dealing with your pictures out on out on social media.
And here's the thing about it too is this. You have to keep in mind that, we kind of come off as being hard on it, but it's actually about you.
Yeah.
You can have fun with this. You can actually sit down and really have fun by showing who and what you really are, the interest in which you have. When you do travel, putting pictures out. Keep in mind you might want to wait a little bit, but put those pictures out there. If you are interested in things, put those pictures out there. Share that information so that people get a much more broader sense of who you are. And come on now, you don't live in your bedroom and in your bathroom.
Exactly. You want to focus on the positive things in your life, the things that make you happy, because you want somebody else to tell you what makes them happy. Mm-hmm. How can you two work together in order to attain certain goals and better yourself as you go along in life?
And as they see those images right there, then they have a better blueprint of what to work with. And that's the important part.
All right. So everybody, thank you for joining us. This has been CCN
and Kirk right here
at the For Real Deal. We'll see you next time.
And peace and love to everyone.